Hello, this is chapter 5, and this chapter is about the adapting to the climate change. Now, as you remember in chapter 4, we were talking about the mitigation. Now we are talking adopting. So, mitigation and adopting. Uh, what is the difference? Mitigation, we are talking the climate change. Okay. In climate change, we know there are greenhouse gases, major problem. So, in mitigation, it refers to the effort to reduce or prevent the emission of greenhouse gases. And there were different ways. So we have already talked in chapter 4, and in chapter 5, we are talking the adoption, how we can adopt the climate change. So adaptation, uh, it involves the human being. Here, the human being, how human being can adapt to the change. So this is the basic difference, chapter 4 and 5. So here we will talk the adapting to the climate change. Well, this chapter is classified into two parts. The part 1 is we have to see the vulnerability and risk of different communities, because vulnerability is not same everywhere. So we will look at it from this angle. And the second section is what should be the planning for adaptation and resilience. So let's see, we'll begin with 5.1 here. In 5.1, the vulnerability, and here this is a comparative analysis. Vulnerability, if you see from the viewpoint of geographic vulnerability, you will find some people living in the coastal community, mountainous region, arid and semi-arid region, and island areas. So in different geographical conditions, in different geographical areas, vulnerability is also different. So the adaptation technique will also be different. For instance, in coastal communities, people are facing, maybe they are facing the sea level rise, I mean the sea level change, and there may be some increased frequency of storms, coastal erosions. So what should be the adaptation? Adaptation should include that there should be a building of sea walls, there should be a elevated structure, there should be developing, early warning system for these storms. So, and if we come to the mountainous region, the vulnerability is the glaciers problem, landslides problem, changing of water supplies. So how we can adapt? We can manage the water. There should be a water management practices. Arid and semi-arid region. In these regions, people are experiencing water scarcity, extreme heat. What should be the adaptation techniques? There should be a water conservation, efficient irrigation techniques, and heat-tolerant crop cultivation. In the island areas, particularly people are particularly vulnerable from the sea level rise and extreme weather events. So the strategies which are involved are coastal management, infrastructure adaptation, and in some cases, if it's not manageable, then it can be a relocation planning also. So this was about the geographical vulnerability. The second vulnerability, we can see the economic and social factors. Okay, there are developing countries. Developing countries are facing some problem like poverty problem. They have limited infrastructure, and they are much dependent on climate sensitive livelihood like agriculture and fishing. So The adaptation, it requires international support, capacity building, and sustainable development practices. In urban areas, uh, the issues like the urban heat island. So, what is urban heat island? If you will see any area, let me explain it here. A larger area, if this is the urban area here, so this urban area will be having some more heat, more temperature than surrounding region. So this more heat is also associated with the climate change. So how people can adopt this one? They can uh, change the building designs. They can think of the urban green spaces and efficient public transportation system. The next is the rural communities. Rural communities, as we know, very highly dependent on natural resources. So if there is a change in the climate, it affects what? Agriculture and natural ecosystem. It may be the pond, it may be a river bank, or the soil. All these are being affected due to the climate change. What should be the strategies? Diversifying income sources should be there. So if there is a failure of crop, then the livelihood will not be as much disturbed. The third part section is that environmental and ecological risk. What are the environmental risk or ecological risks? We know the biodiversity hotspots. There are some areas where biodiversity is more, and this biodiversity plays a very important role for the managing the natural system, maintaining the natural system. But if there is a threat to that biodiversity, so what should be the strategy? Strategy should be the habitat conservation, ecosystem restoration, and wildlife corridors to allow species migration. Areas prone to natural disasters. Those areas where there are the plains, there are regions which are prone to wildlife. These require disaster risk management, improved emergency response system, community education and planning. And now we come to the health vulnerability. Uh, so especially those areas where there is limited healthcare access. In those areas, limited healthcare access means that those settlements, that population which is living far away from the health facilities. So, uh, so there is heat waves, there are vector-borne diseases. So the healthcare system should be improved those areas. And now we come to the fifth point, which is comparative analysis. The comparative analysis, you have to see the resource availability. Okay, you have to see the technical and institutional capacity. You have to see the culture and knowledge factors. You have to see policy and governance. So wherever there is a the deficiency, where the knowledge illiteracy is more, you have to go for uh, spreading the information. And now the interconnected risk. The climate change impacts are often interconnected, affecting multiple aspects of life. Hence, holistic approach should be adopted. So this was all about the understanding of vulnerability and risk of different communities. Uh, and the next is, what should be the planning for adaptation and resilience? The planning, first of all, we should know that what is the risk assessment, how much is the risk, and what are the projection, what is the rate of change of the temperature, what is the frequency of the weather, extreme weather. So this understanding of local risk is very important to plan the adaptation uh, strategies and techniques. For that, we can use the climate projections, which are published by some reliable agencies. And the second is designing adaptable infrastructure. So the infrastructure, it may be a building infrastructure related to the construction of buildings, construction of roads that can tolerate the extreme weather events. There are some nature-based solutions also, like implementing the green infrastructure, like urban green spaces, wetland restoration, coastal mangroves, uh, and all these, green spaces, wetland and coastal mangroves. These provides natural buffers against the climate impact. Technology integration. So the advanced technology should be used to monitor and to respond the climate risk, such as weather management system in the cities. And the third is resilient policies and governance. The government should be very active. The government should make the long-term plan. Government should go for cross-sectoral coordination. I mean the coordination among different sections, departments, and there should be an inclusive and participatory process for that. The local people, indigenous group, and various stakeholders should be involved in the process of the adaptation and resilience. What should be the financial strategies? There should be funding for resilience. Those who are suffered more because of this climate change, there should be a fund for such type of communities. There should be a cost benefit analysis also, like you have to prioritize your investment in adaptation measures, so you can invest the best. The fifth point is building community resilience. So for that, there is a point like public awareness and education, community-based adaptation here. And the sixth is monitoring and evaluation. So regular review and adaptation is important to for sustainable development. Then the policy integration. So the integrating with broader development goals is very important to achieve something uh, which can ensure the sustainable development of the regions. This was all about chapter 5. Thank you.